few times trying to make this little bit of video. It's really annoying. Anyway, so today is going to be a bit of an intro to the next set of projects that I'm going to be doing, and this is all going to be around some of the retro computing type stuff that I do. So we've got some PCs and some older 16-bits and some consoles and those sorts of things, and I've got a lot of that gear hanging about, and I haven't really done as much as I'd really like to with those machines. I'd like to get them all together in a place where I can use them, poke at them, and let other people mess around with them, this sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get them all together in one place. I'm going to finish the various reconstructions, restorations, etc., and do a video for each of those machines. And then what we're going to do is, over in that window there in my front room, we're going to compose them all together and make them all actually usable, and have a like a nice little museum display sort of fun thing where it's all usable and it's accessible. But at the present moment, they're sort of scattered around the house, or they're in the garage doing various nothings, and it would be nice to actually finish some of those projects, some of them more involved than others, and see what we can really put together as a sort of wall of awesome. I'm going to take you through each of the bits of kit that I've got kicking around, and we'll have a look at what's there, see what's in the garage and what's upstairs, and what's in what state, and what ideas and plans I've got, and where I've got with these machines already. And then hopefully we'll do a video for each one, and for some of the sort of supporting infrastructure as well, and see what you think of it. Some of it might be instructional, some of it might just be fun stuff, but yeah, I think hopefully it'll all be fun. So we'll just go out to the garage now and start there and see what's hanging around. Okay, so we're out in the lab in the garage at the present moment, the electronics lab, which is a heinous mess compared to the last time that you saw it. And we're going to go through a bunch of the stuff that's in here, some fun things. So yeah. So first up, we've got this nice looking DOS machine. Now this is a Pentium 166 MMX. It's got, I think, 64 meg of RAM. I've just sort of finished retrobrighting the front case, and that is coming along very nicely. Just to compare and contrast, the stuff it used to look like was more like that sort of colour. Still some cleaning and that left to do. We've got some marks and stuff on here, but just on the inside, 166 MX. It's I think it's, I can't remember if it's EDO RAM. A Sound Blaster 16, original Gravis Ultrasound with a Meg. That is an S3 graphics card which has got a good DOS compatibility even though it's PCI. A Voodoo 1 3DFX card. Maybe hoping to get a Voodoo 2 for this one. I've also got an ESS audio drive card coming to replace the SB16, because actually the compatibility even on Sound Blaster titles is better in some ways, especially on the sort of voice effects and stuff, than with the SB16. So this is going to be the first one that we actually do a proper video on, and I'll go through that rest of the hardware. We'll do a rebuild. It needs a clean and a rebuild and some care and attention, so we'll do that. Next up, I've got two of these workstations. They're slightly different specs, but they're both old school HP CAD and graphics type workstations. This one is the Visualize P class. A lot of the Visualize machines were not even Intel machines, they were PA RISC and that sort of thing. But this is a Pentium 3 based machine. It's got, I think, half a gig of RAM and a Gloria Synergy 2, I think, which is a Riva TNT2 card, I think. And then this one is a 2 gigahertz Xeon, I think the original series of Xeons, and that's got a Diamond Fire GL2 card in it, and half a gig of RAM. And I think what I want to do is, I like this case better, so I think I'm probably going to try and rescue this machine. The innards are fairly different, but I haven't quite worked out which way I'm going to do it. But between these two, I'm going to be building a really choice Windows 98 sort of era gaming machine with some decent graphics and stuff in it. So yeah. Now back here we have a big purple beast. That is the Silicon Graphics Indigo 2. Now I am a big Silicon Graphics fan, and I've owned a number of machines over the years and stupidly given them away at various points. This is a few tens of thousands of pounds worth of workstation at the time, and unfortunately it seems to have a Duff PSU. It doesn't power on at the present moment, so I'm going to try and source a reasonably priced PSU for that one, and we'll see how we get on. Up here I've got, that's a SparkStation 20. I'm not going to show you the front or the top of it because I'm slightly ashamed. Basically, you see that there? That was perfect until I tried to take the lid off when it had been shipped and it was slightly stuck. And I put a crack in the whole of the lid and it's just sad. But I'm going to see if I can source some bits for that, or at least find a way to repair it that is not too ugly. That is a SCSI CD-ROM drive, or DVD RAM drive in fact, which I'm hoping will support the whole 512K sector thing to allow me to do various things on those Unix boxes. I'm just going to grab one more thing down from the shelf. Here we have a box of crap, but underneath there's an Amiga 500 on its way to the healing bench. Now this is one that I got in a job lot with some other stuff a while ago, and has actually been repaired and is working fine. The repair that I did was to recap the video output because it had the caps gone on the video output, and the RAM board that was in the trapdoor was it had a leaking battery on it, so I took all the chips off that and actually used them as chip RAM upgrade inside the machine. So that's now got a Meg on board, which makes it quite a nice A500. But I've got other Amigas as well, and what we're going to do is we're going to see those upstairs with the other stuff there. All that 16-bit stuff is largely upstairs, so we're going to have a look at that now. Just before we go upstairs and have a look at that 16-bit stuff and the consoles and things, I just thought I'd show you this work area that I've got set up at the present moment. I made this nice big LED lamp out of a cheapo LED strips off Banggood, and just got an old laptop PSU running it. Or yeah, something like that. It's 12 volt, but this makes a really nice lamp, and it's all the reason that it's all pretty and curved is that it's made out of an old piece of skirting board that leaned up against the wall for too long and got curved, and I suspect over time it will uncurve or curve the other way anyway, but I've got it held up by some big chains. It works and makes a really nice work light. Now what you see here is my current set of experimental and working retro brighting stuff. So we've got a lot of what is seeming to be the best choice really, which is that cream peroxide 12% stuff, and that works really nicely on some things and less well on others. I've also got a big tub of 12% peroxide, and got a blender and the whole original recipe stuff. So we've got xanthan gum and we've got glycerin and all that sort of thing, and that's this is a non-food use blender specifically for doing these things and making those mixtures. If you don't know what Retrobrite is, it's a chemical process that was developed by some guys who were interested in reversing the yellowing aging process of those ABS plastics, the ones that you see sat in windowsills etc. for 20 years, and all of the brown and yellow seems to seep to the surface in them. Apparently this was actually a fire retardant bromine compound that was in them in order to, as a fire retardant, and over time heat and UV bring it out of the plastic. It looks like a nicotine stain, but it's actually an effect of the plastic aging. And this chemical process is used to reverse that, to bring those plastics back to their original look. And it can be very effective. But what you need primarily hydrogen peroxide in one form or another, and then either heat or UV exposure. I built this UV box for various processes because it's always useful to be able to expose things to UV. There are various chemical processes and manufacturing processes, etc., which require UV exposure. So that's just UV LED strips, and then there's a power supply in there, and then I've got a timer on it if I need it as well. But yeah, it's that works quite well for the retro brightening stuff. I've got some good results with that. But yeah, it also, if you get a sort of combined effect for the Retrobrite, because it can use heat as well. If you close it down, there's actually enough energy coming out of those LEDs to warm the area up quite a bit as well, so it's pretty effective. But yeah, that's my Retrobriting stuff. It works all right. Another slight aside before we go upstairs. I got my big dumb car back. This is Sally. Sally is a 2001 Mitsubishi Shogun slash Pajero. Pajero is what it's called in the rest of the world. She's rusted to fuck, has had a lot of welding recently, had a new gearbox, had a new clutch, had some suspension work, but she is back, she is mine, and she is beautiful, and I am happy. Hi Sally. Okay guys, so we're up in the attic now. It's quite a plush attic that I have in my house, it's very pleasant. And I've sort of spread out some of this old gear around. I apologise about the lighting. I just got the portable light which sits on my mount for the iPhone, but hopefully you'll be able to see everything okay. So if we start where we left off with the Amiga stuff, we've got a couple of things here. I've got the A600, which I got from eBay. Well, I think it was an eBay one a while ago. It might have been a cash converter's job though. And that's it's just stock. It's got a 60 meg hard drive in it, I think. No modifications or anything. Standard RAM, I think. But it serves as a nice base. There's some nice new products available for the A600 in terms of accelerator / expansion cards. So I might be checking that out. We've also got a 1200, which I've not really investigated very much, and that was a very, very kind donation from a friend of mine, along with some Atari and Spectrum stuff. I'm considering maybe making two Amiga machines, one which is a A500, which is set up to have virtual disk loading, but not much modification otherwise, so no newer kickstarts or anything like that, and then use the 1200 for all of the interesting expansion stuff and extended things. So we'll see where that goes. I'm not 100% sure. I'd be interested to hear anyone's comments on what the best way to go with the 1200 is in terms of interesting expansions and modifications. So as well as the Amiga stuff, I've got a whole bunch of Atari stuff. Now, I was an Atari kid when I was growing up. I've currently got two 520 STEs and an STFM. One of the STEs, again, was a kind donation from one of my friends. The STEs, this one's been upgraded to 4 meg of RAM and also has a lot of extra feet on the bottom to raise it up, which is understandable because the stupid ports are in the stupid place. No other great modifications apart from it's had its drive replaced. I think someone may have tried to do a 1.4 meg floppy upgrade on it, but none of the internals for that or the controller changes have been done, so that might be one of the things it might be fun to do, but I think my main thing is going to be to get a good floppy emulator in one of these, make sure its RAM is maxed out, and potentially get a Satan Disk hard drive emulator as well. Maybe keep one as stock, probably the STFM, keep that as stock without any modifications, maybe just an extra internal hidden away Gotek floppy emulator so that I can run some of the older demos and stuff like that and keep that as older firmware, but maybe put a TOS switcher in with one of the STEs and get some of the later TOS versions on that. That might be quite interesting. Console wise, I have here there's a PS2. The PS2 already has some modification done to it. It's got the hard drive module and that's been set up for booting, so I can load disk images from that already, and that works really nicely. I also have a Dreamcast and a GameCube in here, neither of which are modified at all, and I still need to do a whole bunch of research as to what is the best way to do that. I've seen a really nice IDE mod for the Dreamcast, and I've got SCART outputs and stuff for all of this stuff, so I'm not too bothered about sort of outputs and things like that. The GameCube disk image loading would be a really interesting one. There are some solutions available for that, but they don't seem to be that amazing, so I need to do more research on that one. That's in terms of actual machines. Now there's some important ancillary equipment. So this is one of two of the larger monitors that I have. This is a Mitsubishi MegaView 29 Pro, and this is a monitor, RGB monitor, that will go from sort of PAL and NTSC low resolutions all the way up to VGA at 1600 by 1200, and all of the resolutions and refresh rates in between, which makes it quite a rare monitor. I actually have two of these. Another one is sort of hidden away in the garage in its flight case that it originally came in. I scored two of these and a bunch of other gear for less than £100 on eBay a few years ago, but this is a really impressive monitor, and it's the main one that I want to use for displaying the retro PC stuff and anything else which is generating a signal which is higher than sort of Pallon NTSC standard low resolution stuff. We've also got a 29-inch PVM Sony monitor. This is it's in pretty good nick. The picture quality works great. It's missing its badge, sadly. I might have to see if I can sort that out. It's a bit scratched up, but it works great. And this is a really beautiful monitor for Pallon NTSC sources. Nothing really looks better than this. The actual colour reproduction and the rastery effect and stuff like that, it just looks great. Playing PS2 or Dreamcast or that sort of thing on here, it just looks gorgeous. Same for the Atari and Amiga stuff. As well, to go with that, I've got, this is an Extron System 8 Plus. This is mainly for use with the big Mitsubishi, but this has got 8 RGB, HV and audio inputs and 1 output. So it's a big switcher basically, and you can control this via RS232 and stuff as well. So I think I would like to use that for the switching of the VGA inputs to the Mitsubishi, and what I need to do is get arrange something nice in terms of a RGB SCART switch for the other sources that are going to go into the Sony, because the Sony is SCART RGB input amongst other things. But yeah, that's the stuff I've got in the attic. And that covers it basically for today. So the next video I'm going to do will probably end up being that first DOS retro PC. I'm waiting on a couple of bits for it at the present moment, but once they arrive, what I'm going to do is strip that down, clean and tidy everything up, and rebuild it from scratch and set up the DOS stuff on there, and we'll do some tests and hopefully get some nice mixture of game and music output for that. There are some extra projects that go alongside that. I think I'm going to set one of the old laptops that I have kicking about as a machine to run the Sound Canvas emulator and the MT32 emulator, so that I can do some good MIDI music from DOS as well. And I'll do that as its own video as well. I know Phil from Phil's Computer Lab has done that on this little tablet, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm basically going to do what he's done because it's such a good job there. But that's what I'm going to use with the DOS machine. I'm also looking at some bits for the Windows 98 machine. Next time you see me, we'll be working on that DOS machine. So thank you very much for watching, and see you on the flip side.